Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 25th of May 2023, and these are the stories that we will be discussing in detail during the course of the show. Yaum-e-Takreem-e-Shuhada-e-Pakistan was observed all across the country today. This day, as was of course observed by not only the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee, Services Chief, retired services officer, representatives of civil society, but also by our government, our president, our prime minister, who gave very important messages on the occasion and paid rich tributes to the Shuhada of Pakistan, who rendered ultimate sacrifices in the line of duty to ensure integrity, sovereignty and honor of our nation, Pakistan, and our motherland. The sacrifices of the Shuhada remain eternal and will continue to inspire future generations and countrymen, and they should never be forgotten, irrespective of the different kinds of propaganda that we have seen by those who do not want Pakistan to be stabilized and who do not want to honor those who have rendered their lives for our motherland. This is going to be our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the Baloch National Army Chief Gulzar Imam alias Shambe, who has been arrested by our agencies, and of course Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif also extended congratulations to Pakistan for nabbing one of its most high profile militant leaders. He was an important commander and a big target, and the arrest was of course due to a unique intelligence based operation that lasted for quite some time. Now what has happened is that Shambe has apologized and has asked others to surrender. He says it will lead to prosperity and peace in the country, and he's not wrong. It is time that all such militants lay down their arms and work together for the benefit of the country. This is going to be our second segment. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about Pakistan, that has said that it is sad to see some G20 nations allowing themselves to be used by India to portray a false sense of normalcy in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. This was said at a United Nations Security Council debate in New York on Tuesday, where Pakistan's Ambassador Munir Akram reminded the world body that the primary responsibility was the resolution of conflicts and disputes in accordance with the principles of the Charter of the United Nations. Then we'll be talking about Saudi Arabia and Canada that are going to restore full diplomatic relations. The kingdom has announced that on Wednesday, following a 2018 dispute that has caused them to strain relations. Also, we know that Iran has also named an ambassador to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. State media had also reported this, sealing a thaw in relations after more than 7 years of these two countries. So a lot of positivity on the diplomatic front that we are seeing, and this is also something that we will be highlighting in today's show. And finally, we'll be talking about one person who was shot dead and houses set on fire, and fresh ethnic violence erupted in India's restive northeastern state of Manipur. This was stated by officials today. Manipur has been on the boil after an explosion of inter-ethnic violence this month that has killed at least 70 people, and tens of thousands of people have been displaced. This is going to be our final story. Let's begin with our first, and that concerns the Yaum-e-Takreem-e-Shuhada-e-Pakistan, a very important day for Pakistanis, for those who believe in our country, who believe in the sacrifices rendered by our Shuhada. More in the following report.
The nation observes Yaum-e-Takreem-e-Shuhada-e-Pakistan to pay rich tribute to the martyrs who laid their lives while defending the motherland and its people. The main event was held at General Headquarters Rawalpindi with Chief of Army Staff General Asim Munir as the chief guest. Members of the armed forces, former Army Chief General retired Qamar Javed Bajwa, former Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee General Nadir were present on the occasion. Retired and serving officers of the armed forces, families of the martyrs, officers of the civil administration attended the event. The attendees paid rich tributes to not only the martyrs of armed forces of Pakistan, but also to the members of police and other law enforcement agencies who laid down their lives for the country. Chief of Army Staff General Asim Munir laid floral wreath at Martyrs Monument. A similar ceremony was held at Air Headquarters Islamabad for the martyrs. Air Chief Zahir Ahmed Babar attended the ceremony and offered Fatiha for the martyrs of Pakistan. Chief of Naval Staff Admiral Muhammad Amjad Khan Niazi led the ceremony at Naval Headquarters to pay rich tributes to the brave sons of soil who laid down their lives for their motherland.
Brigadier Retired Nadir Mir, who's a defense analyst, joins us online. Brigadier Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. Today is a very auspicious day and very rightly announced by the Chief of the Army Staff, looking at the situation in which people were deliberately told to or brainwashed in order to give a very negative image as far as our defenders of the motherland are concerned. How important do you feel this day is in the current context of all that we have been witnessing in the last 2 weeks?
Today is a day to give tribute to the martyrs of Pakistan. And as Chairman PNRM, Pakistan National Reform Movement, I have said before and of course today, Shaheed ki jo maut hai, wo qaum ki hayat hai. It is our sacred duty to love all patriots who sacrifice themselves for the beloved motherland. And I dare say with full conviction, they are the noblest of Pakistanis and are blessed by Allah. And it is an article of faith that the nation can never forget the sacrifices of its valiant sons and daughters. So whatever the circumstances, the adoration for defenders of Pakistan is adoration for Pakistan. And today Pakistan is alive and inshallah will rise because they fell in harm's way. And they gave their lives so that their homeland, that is Pakistan, could blossom 1,000 flowers. And what has happened is the most ignominious, the most disgraceful chapter in our national history. And I have said it before and I say it openly, it is not just a mob turned violent or gone berserk or gone crazy. This was premeditated, the targets were selected, and it was, as we discussed last time on your program, the heart, soul, and the spirit, and the spiritual heart of Pakistan, that is the blood of martyrs, was to be targeted. That is what was done. And that is why these targets were attacked. Otherwise, there are 1,000 places, even if somebody has a political dispute with another party, it happens all over the world, they go and at best, offend each other. This never happens. Nowhere in the world does this happen. So there is nothing more to say on it. Those who have done this, they are the enemies of Pakistan, who have to be dealt as the enemies. So all this talk of miscreants or someone gone astray and, all the lighter language that is used, we have reached a point in our national history. And people have compared it with 9/11 and USA. I say this is worse. 9/11 was when USA, United States, was attacked by somebody from outside. This was done from within. Of course, Indians and others were involved, and we are very clear on that. But it was a Trojan horse which was used to attack Pakistanis. And when we talk of martyrs and the families who gave their lives for Pakistan, for them and they to be disgraced or dishonored, what can be worse than that? So it has not only to be condemned. Condemn is a word we keep using every second day for so many things. This has to be punished in a manner which is historic, so that never again, I've used the word, never again does anyone even dream of doing this in Pakistan.
Let's talk of Yaum-e-Takreem-e-Shuhada-e-Pakistan. This day that was commemorated all across Pakistan, whether it be by our forces, whether it be by our people, whether it be by our government, whether it be by all the important peoples from different sectors of life. When you look back at all that happened during this day, today, all the floral wreaths that were held, all the important messages that came out, whether it be from our president or our prime minister or our ministers or our army chiefs, how important do you feel these messages are?
Of course, these messages are very important, and it is a very heartening. And I say the army chief has done, besides other great deeds, this and the others also have reciprocated and supported it, because it's a national effort. These martyrs belong to all of us. They are sons and daughters of this soil. And so all the messages, all the adoration, all the honor that is given to them was the best thing that could happen under the circumstances. But I dare say, like I say it on Kashmir Day, that it is not Kashmir which has to be talked of once in a whole year and then forgotten the rest of the year. Similarly, while of course the national life has to go on, and Martyrs' Day is celebrated or they are honored today. But as a matter of fact, in our culture, in our history, and in our society, we have to bring about this, because even before this 9th May aftermath and all the whatever happened, even otherwise, there was a need that this day or this homage to these martyrs should be much more than it has been taking place. You've seen, everybody's seen these movies, Hollywood movies like Troy, in which a Greek hero, Achilles, who falls martyr in the, Homer's Iliad while conquering this Troy, he is honored today. And when that thing took place, that history, it's supposed to be 700 BC, 2,700 years ago. So what I'm trying to explain is, our heroes are very recent, and
we need to remember them. We need to remember them constantly, and we need to honor them. I think that is very important, to honor them and to give them the due respect that they deserve, because they are the ones who are always there on the forefront. They are the ones who have laid down their lives for our motherland, so that we, yourself and myself and so many others, can live in peace, can eat 3 times a day, can sleep peacefully, can wake up peacefully. It is all due to their efforts. Whenever there has been a calamity, whether there be an earthquake or the flood, who is the first respondent? Who goes first of all to help the people? These are our armed forces. But it's very important to understand that concept, and also for those who do not understand or know about it, to make them, to give them a clear light of what is actually the role of our armed forces and how they have been instrumental as far as Pakistan's development and Pakistan's security and stability is concerned.
Absolutely right. And how can you not honor these epic heroes and stoic martyrs of Pakistan? Today, the exact situation is that India is waiting or wanting some kind of civil strife, civil war in Pakistan. They have been propagating it on media, as you know, and so that they can try misadventure or aggression in the east. And the terrorists are already attacking, as you've seen. Every second day there are attacks, and Pakistani soldiers and security forces and even civilians, there also are martyrs. All Pakistanis who are fighting for the cause of Pakistan are martyrs. It's of course led by the military and the army and the other security forces. And they are fighting. Every second day you see on the press, you see in the media, your soldiers are falling shaheed for this country. They're giving their blood. And I want to bring out a point here, which some of us in our, hustle bustle of life, we tend to forget, because this life has become a little fast, and some of the great virtues of some time back have become reduced. I want to say to the entire nation, using your channel today, just imagine the ordeal of the families of these martyrs, who have fallen for you, for that is Pakistan, going through the tribulations of life without the benevolence of a father, guidance of a brother, or the comfort of a sister or mother, growing up in a cruel world. The state and society owes everything to them. These heroic martyrs and their families, we are in their debt till eternity.
That is so true, and I totally agree with you, Brigadier Saab. The fact also remains that as far as geofencing is concerned, there have been certain results that have showed that the whole plan for this May 9th atrocities that happened, in which so many buildings were vandalized, and of course those buildings also that belonged to our forces, and the monuments were also vandalized, was not just a random act but a deliberate, pre-planned, as you yourself had said. And this happened on the 8th of May. This plan was made a day before this actually happened. Do you feel that all of this attempt on the 9th of May, it was a deliberate attempt to pit our masses, to pit our nation against our forces?
Absolutely right. And I said that earlier on your channel, I said it otherwise, that it is not only that, the plan or the grand plan was even more. That's why I'm not bringing in the Indians just because, as I said earlier, they are an inimical neighbor or enemy hostile to us. That is not the reason. There can be hostility, but in this case, all the proof is there, and sheer logic weighs in this. Basically, you have to see why the PF was attacked, why the martyrs were attacked, why the mosques were burnt. I mean, see, the ambulances. So just see, besides the GHQ and the Corps Commander House, they were all selected targets. And I said much earlier that they were target list was either selected or vetted or approved in Delhi. Because they are the people who want, what do they want? They want the spirit of Pakistan, because the martyrs are the spirit of Pakistan. That to finish. They want the Pakistan Air Force, which is second to none, undefeated. The Indians can't defeat it in air or in air war, and so they wanted crowds, misguided or frenzied crowds or mobs to go and do it for them. So it was a Trojan horse tactics. It was well devised. It was planned basically to pit. And let me tell you, you go through the literature that is coming out. Civilians, it's not only that I am a defense analyst and chairman of PNR or geopolitician, so I know these things. No, your civilian writers saying openly that the plan was to incite civil war, which you are saying exactly right. That is to pit the people against the army, pit the people against each other, and God forbid, make the army, create, disunity within the army and all that. But with Allah's blessings, there is unity of command. The Pakistan army is very well disciplined, and I dare say I salute the people of Pakistan also besides the army for their rustic wisdom, because people quickly got the joke or this nefarious, sinister plan that there is something else afoot in the garb of politics of all over frenzy that came about. That the target list itself betrayed their plan, that this plan was to pit the Pakistanis against the Pakistanis. Then that's what the Indian media has been saying, social media has been saying regularly and consistently, make Pakistanis fight Pakistanis, so the job of the Indians is done. Easy. But the worst part is that some Pakistanis played into the hands, and they are worse than the Indians or as bad as the enemy, and they have to be treated as such.
Brigadier Sahab, also, the importance of the day. If you see all the different events that happened today, all those people from different walks of life that laid down floral leaves, all those people who paid respect to our armed forces, martyrs, shuhada today. Is it also a clear signal now to all those enemies that you yourself have mentioned as well, that Pakistan stands as one against all such nefarious elements?
I said that much earlier, which is our PNR motto and aim: unite Pakistan, defend Pakistan, reform Pakistan. And I can say with confidence, regarding what you just asked, your query, that today, after this and in the light of all that, Pakistan is more united than ever. On all these people, of course, political differences or political, reservations are always there. That is in all societies. That's not a problem. It's in the United States, it's in democracies, it's in autocracies, it's everywhere. That's a totally different issue. That is politics. We are not talking politics. We are talking national unity. We are talking national solidarity, national integrity. And we are talking Pakistan against its enemy. We are not talking. So their aim was to pit the Pakistani youth, especially youth, against Pakistan, whereas the Pakistani youth is educated and smart, and they will be guided, and PNR will be one of the platforms to guide them, and because we want to be a bridge between the people and the state, so that it is done for the greater good of Pakistan, rather than this evil which came about. And I am going to use this word evil with complete deliberation. I am not using it, my language, I don't use it thoughtlessly. There was a very sinister plan. And I told you, you read through the articles, people are writing openly that this plan was to break Pakistan or create a civil war whereby foreign intervention could take place. So God forbid anything like that. But today, as you said correctly, your observation, Pakistan stands united. The army is disciplined, united under the command of the COS, as it should be and as it will always be, inshallah. And similarly, the people of Pakistan support the army. And I tell you today, we Pakistanis, the army and the people are one, and we can fight any enemy, whether internal or external, and defeat them. And Pakistan will rise, and no one harm will come to Pakistan. Pakistan will always prosper.
Pakistan Zindabad. Brigadier Nadir Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us and to have talked to us about the importance of this day, that is Yaum-e-Takreem-e-Shuhada-e-Pakistan, that was held all across Pakistan, whether it be the services chiefs, whether it be our Prime Minister, President, and our different chief ministers, whether it be the different peoples from walks of life who have come together as one to show the world and to show all those elements who are trying to create some kind of disharmony or pitting the one element against the other in Pakistan, that no matter what happens, Pakistanis will remain united and Pakistan will thwart all such attempts that are made against such elements that are the defenders of our country, that are the first line of defense, that are our shuhada. We should be proud of them, and we will continue to be proud of them. The Shuhada-e-Pakistan are our heroes, a great asset whose ultimate sacrifices can never be allowed to be demeaned or undermined by anyone. Let's come to our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns Baloch National Army chairman Gulzar Imam Shambe. He was arrested by intelligence agencies around a month back. Our Prime Minister has also extended congratulations to Pakistan for nabbing one of the most high-profile militant leaders. But now Shambe has apologized and asks others to surrender. He says it will lead to peace and prosperity. What is the possible outcome of all of this? His remarks and his arrest. More in the following report.
Pakistan has been grappling with the challenge of militancy, but entire nation is committed to combating terrorism because peace was gained through sacrifices of thousands of Pakistani citizens and gallant security forces. Demonstrating the capability and resolve of security apparatus to uproot the menace of terrorism, a hardcore militant identified as Gulzar Imam alias Shambe was arrested during an intelligence-based operation in the Prom area of Balochistan's Panjgur district. Imam was the founder and leader of the banned outfit BNA, which came into being after the amalgamation of the Baloch Republican Army and United Baloch Army. A breakthrough in Pakistan's efforts to combat terrorism was witnessed yesterday when Gulzar Imam Baloch offered to help the government and security forces negotiate with disgruntled Baloch militants. The BNA founder urged all militants to put down their weapons and emphasized that some inimical forces have been using the disgruntled elements as a pressure group, causing harm to Baloch people, and resultantly Balochistan has become the victim of degradation and backwardness. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif congratulated the country and appreciated the security forces for their untiring efforts to restore peace. Pakistan, especially Balochistan, is on the way to peace and prosperity.
Dr. Salma Malik, Foreign Affairs expert, joins us online. Dr. Salma, it's a pleasure to have you on board for this very important segment and also having you on our show after quite some time. I hope you're fine. I hope everybody's fine. Today also was an important day, Yaum-e-Takreem-e-Shuhada-e-Pakistan. And this topic, of course, of Gulzar Imam Shambe is somehow directly or indirectly related to it, because it's because of the efforts of our intelligence agencies that he was nabbed. How serious a blow is his arrest to all such elements that are trying to create havoc in our country, all those such militant parties?
Having me in the program. I think it's very significant given the last 24 hours, especially with reference to Balochistan, where militancy is considered to be insurgency, as well as militancy is considered to be something as akin to a brave act. And it is also considered to be something which people think that it's supreme nationalism for those who are militating. And there are so many aspects which internally as well as externally have been exploited when it comes to Baloch nationalists or those who are fighting against the security forces for any reasons. But here I must also say one thing, that any of the Baloch that we talk about are Pakistani nationals, and we have to give them the space that unfortunately they have the issue that they think that their rights can only be achieved if they take the militancy route. And that is how they have been tutored by outsiders. The fact that Gulzar Sahab has been caught, was caught, and now he has surrendered and he has taken the route of peace is something which is very commendable. It is something that gives a lot of encouragement as well as incentive to those misguided youth that are unfortunately treading the same path of militancy. And in that, we end up losing a lot of our precious young Baloch youth, as well as people who have immense potential to give to this country, to give to their homeland. And one could only wish and pray that with time there is more and more such opening available, which will make people realize that they can actually opt for alternate means other than militancy, other than taking up arms, getting themselves killed, killing security forces, being on the same side of the fence. They are trying to figure out who is the enemy and who is a friendly force, and this is most difficult for them as well as for the security forces to fend.
Gulzar Imam, was associated with terrorist activities since the year 2009. In 2023, he is finally apprehended. And of course, as you very well said, he takes out the statement in which he asks others like him, other militant leaders, to surrender as well and go for peace, go for prosperity. If you look at the background of Gulzar Imam alias Shambe, he is one of the three most important commanders as far as these Baloch movements are concerned. BLA chief Bashir Zaib and BLF chief Allah Nazar are the other two, who have also been instrumental in the formation of BRAS or BRAS, if you can say. Do you feel that Gulzar Imam could play an important role in mediation between these two militant leaders and the government, so that they also might join forces with Gulzar Imam and work towards peace and prosperity instead of going the other way?
Omar, it's never easy. I mean, what I have just said a while back sounds very idealistic. Going the other way after, and also the fact that when we consider these people as terrorists, they have indulged in acts of terrorism, they have indulged in acts of extreme violence as well as militancy, and that is why they were being pursued by the security forces. And these are very absolute terms that we use. I mean, if I see my family members getting killed by any of these actors, as a common citizen, I would also feel that why now? Why this change of attitude? At the same time, however misguided these people may be, the path that they've taken is an extreme path. And I can vouch for now for a fact that some of young people that we have also interacted, unfortunately, became a cannon fodder to this militancy and to this terrorism. Were they misguided? Were they convinced in their opinion? That is something that needs to be seen. And people like you and me really cannot identify with this extreme sentiment and cause. Yet the fact is that would Shambe's arrest, would Shambe's turning around, taking this peace route, actually hold an incentive for the militant leadership of his league? Entirely depends. It may also be a situation where his family and his followers may now be targeted by other Baloch ultra nationalists as well as the militants who would want to make an example out of this particular incident, that you cannot take the path of amnesty, you cannot take the path of peace. So it's a very, very difficult situation of going back to a peaceful mode, because usually
But it's
for
an
these people
important
it is
step,
considered to
nevertheless,
be
Dr.
a
Salma, isn't it?
terror.
It's a very important step.
It is a very important step, no doubt about it. It's easy for me and you to relate to it. It's
Of
not
course.
easy in that situation for those people to understand what one of their kith and kin has done. So we need to be very careful as to how the situation develops in the near future. There could be a gap which is left because of his arrest and his turning around, his giving up arms, and you may have people being exported from abroad who would take up the position and may actually end up doing far more worse than these people have done. So, unfortunately, in Balochistan, it's not only the internal dynamics. What is more mentionable in Balochistan is the external dynamics that drive the militancy and terrorism in that area. And
That is
this
so
is
true, Dr.
something that
Salma,
we
because
really need
in
to be careful.
in the statement that was issued by Shambe also, he claims that neighborhood countries are using Baloch people for anti-national purposes, and some inimical forces have been using the disgruntled elements as a pressure group and have caused harm to the Baloch people. And this is the reason why Balochistan has become a victim of degradation and backwardness.
Absolutely.
These inimical forces that he talks about, one we know is in our immediate neighborhood. What are the others in your point of view?
Well, I would actually say that India is one of the biggest source here, right? What they did in Gawadir, at the PC Gawadir, what they did in other places are a clear evidence, and the fact that Kulbhushan Yadav was also caught, and his statement and the type of evidence that was caught was gathered around him is an absolute testimony to what India is doing in Pakistan. India is also using as a proxy the Afghan soil, or has been using as a proxy the Afghan soil, the borderland between Pakistan, Afghanistan, and in any case, the borderlands are usually a very gray area. But in case of Afghanistan, the borderland becomes all the more gray. We can also not shy away from some friendly forces who had been residing in this neighbor for the last 20 years, who used all these elements in a larger game plan to keep Pakistan bogged down. And there have been a lot of studies coming from those quarters which have been talking about cutting Pakistan to size, drawing a new map, having the bloody fault lines, the bloodlines, and all of those blood borders, etc. Such theories have been coming up. So those theories were not without any credence. They were not an act of fiction. There have been, even within our friendly countries, characters, institutions, agencies who have had their own way of looking at their strategic interest. And if that meant severing Pakistan, if that meant antagonizing Pakistan, making Baloch people, making Khyber Pakhtunkhwa an extremely volatile area, killing innocent people, misleading them, and making them take the path of terrorism and militancy, they were doing it because it helped them. And of course, for India, this was the golden opportunity, and India encashed it as much as possible. So today, when India sits and hosts the G20 and uses screenshots to show a beautiful Kashmir, that is a testimony of how the terrorism or the terrorist mindset of India is so manipulative, and how there is an international consumption for the big lies that India is making, all because in a caste striped world of today, India is most needed because it has a heavy fat purse.
I
So
totally
no
agree with
one
you
will
on that,
take
and this
no
is
account of it.
this is also something that Pakistan has highlighted time and again on different fora as well. Let's also talk about the presser of Shambain, which he highlighted some very interesting facts. I'd like to have your point of view on that. Intra group rivalries with other militant groups as well, especially BLA, Majid Brigade, BLF, perks of Baloch sub-nationalist leadership, that is living abroad, disparities in living standards of the leaders, comrades, and a normal fighter. And of course, how these chieftains who live abroad and live a lavish life are being used as pawns by other countries, for example, such as India. There is a certain strange divide between the different classes of the militants, those the chieftains who live abroad and those who work for them here and cause all the havoc. Can that be addressed in some way by our intelligence agencies and by the external governments that harbor these chieftains?
Um, Omar, when 9/11 happened, and there was this counterinsurgency operation that took a lot of hype in Sri Lanka against the LTTE, which was a militant group and a separatist militant group, one of the main things that was targeted was the financing aspect. And Pakistan has also faced a lot of tough time when it came to the FATF and regulating. So Pakistan is actually today in a very, very strong position, and we have a lot of international support and backing where we have actually made our financing network or financing sector, whether it is internal or external, extremely streamlined. So I think one of the starting points could be that the Pakistani administration, they try and clamp on any of those illicit networks through which these financings are taking place. But your first point about the separatist leaders, the militant leaders, or ultra nationalist political leadership living abroad, enjoying a very lavish life, there Pakistan really cannot do anything because the money is not channeling through Pakistan. The money is being funded or provided to them right there and then. And in many times, many instances, it is being done in cash. And we know for a fact that those of our friends and neighbors who are interested in these, in stroking these sentiments, they have a lot of money to do that thing. What Pakistan can actually then do is that it's diplomacy, going to the international quarters and trying to expose this agenda. When especially if we look at India, it also had this fake media network through which it was maligning Pakistan's interest. Pakistan needs to actually educate itself very well and find out how to counter these strategies. raise these points and these notions in all the relevant human rights as well as financial institutions. If FATF can be used against Pakistan, it can be used against any other, or any
I
similar
agree with
networks can be
I
used
agree
against
with
any
on
other
that with
country.
you, Dr. Salma. My last question has two parts to it. My first question is, should the state sympathetically consider the apology of Shambe in the interest of Balochistan's peace and stability? Do you feel that the root causes of militancy can be effectively addressed, removed as a result of this arrest and his apology? Also, I'd like to understand whether the arrest of Shambe has helped break the backbone of militancy in the Makran region, because he was supposed to be heading that region, and also will it lead to other organizations such as Sindhu Desh Revolutionary Army, such as the TTP, such as the ISKP, to also move towards a path of reconciliation? Or is that too much to ask for?
At the moment, it's too much to ask. Actually, you see, Omar, a militancy, an insurgency, any discontent against the state can never happen if there are not fractures which can be exploited. So we have to be very, very candid and introspective. There are a lot of failures on part of the governments now and in the past that have not been able to address the fundamental problems, which
True.
has led to the stroking of a large-scale militancy. And Baloch militancy is not something that happened yesterday or day before yesterday. It has decade-old history. So one such episode cannot really be taken as a complete victory. It
But
is a
it is a
very
good first
strong
step,
and
isn't it?
positive
It's a good
step.
step in the right
Yes, it is a
direction.
very strong and positive step towards a better future. I mean, it's a major big breakthrough. We must celebrate, but we must celebrate it with a little bit of caution. We must also celebrate it with this notion that, yes, this is a substantive victory, yet the fact is that we have a lot of such mountains to scale before we actually reach our ultimate goal, and that is complete peace, security, stability in Balochistan. And it's going to be a mixed bag. It's going to be a military effort. It is going to be a governance effort. It is the winning of hearts and minds. But those winning of hearts and minds cannot happen just by writing or stating that we have won the hearts and minds. That requires concrete governance effort and making the average Balochi happy with the state of affairs. Inshallah, we are pretty sure that there won't really be any grounds left for people to exploit in the future two-stroke militancy.
Inshallah, let's end with this prayer that this indeed becomes the first step of many steps in the future as
Inshallah.
well, to end militancy in Balochistan and to end all such extremist elements that are trying to create havoc in our country. It's very important, it's extremely pertinent that Pakistan goes through that healing phase. Thank you very much, Dr. Salma Malik, to have joined us and to have talked to us about this very important affair of Gulzar Imam Shambe, who has been arrested by the intelligence agencies a month back and now says that he is really sorry, apologizes for all that he has done, and asks other leaders as well to follow in his footsteps and go to and work towards the peace and prosperity of the country. Let's hope the message gets across. Let's come to our last three stories very quickly. Pakistan at the United Nations says that it was sad to see some G20 nations allowing themselves to be used by India to portray a false sense of normalcy in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. This was said at the United Nations Security Council debate in New York that was held on Tuesday. Pakistan's ambassador to the United Nations, Munir reminded the world body that its primary responsibility was the resolution of conflicts and disputes in accordance with the principles of the UN Charter. We all know that the People's Republic of China, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Republic of Turkey, Arab Republic of Egypt and Sultanate of Oman and Indonesia boycotted this meeting of the G20 that happened in the IIO-JK. Munir Saab also said that the United Nations Security Council's primary responsibility is the resolution of conflicts in accordance with the United Nations Charter. This is an important statement that was made, and we hope that the message gets across. As has been in the past, Pakistan has always been quite vehement as far as highlighting the atrocities of the people in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, and of course also highlighting the role that India has been playing lately, exploiting the G20 states. Our next story is an interesting one, and it comes all the way from the Middle East. Saudi Arabia and Canada are to restore diplomatic ties, ladies and gentlemen. They will restore full diplomatic relations. This has been announced by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia following a 2018 dispute over human rights that saw Riyadh expel Ottawa's ambassador and freeze new trade. Now, this announcement also follows a high-stakes Saudi diplomacy that has been triggered by the Kingdom's Chinese brokered reconciliation with Iran, and of course we have seen the repercussions of that as well, positive repercussions. Saudi Arabia has restored bilateral relations with Syria since then. It has ramped up a push for peace in Yemen as well. It is also hosting representatives of Sudan's 2 warring generals, and also we all know that Iran has named an ambassador to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia after a 7-year gap. So good news on the diplomatic front from the Middle East, something that we needed a lot since quite some time, better late than never. And let's go back for our last story to India, where one person has been shot dead and houses set on fire as fresh ethnic violence has erupted in India's restive northeastern state of Manipur. This was said by officials today. Some 2,000 houses have been burnt down across the state that borders Myanmar. 70 people at least have been killed and tens of thousands have been displaced. Movements such as these have been happening all across India, but they have been gaining momentum of late. The fact remains that India needs to put its own house in order instead of wreaking the houses or wreaking havoc in the houses of neighborhood countries, especially Pakistan. Maybe this event will be a fresh reminder for India to deal with its own internal problems and not deal with other problems and trying to create havoc for people or other countries in the neighborhood. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news stories segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. I'll just like to end with Pakistan Zindabad, Pakistan Paindabad. Allah Hafiz.